It was February 25, 1964, and Muhammad Ali had just done the impossible. He'd beaten Sonny Liston to become the heavyweight champion of the world at just 22 years old. The entire sports world was in shock. This loud, brash kid from Louisville had just defeated the most feared man in boxing. But what nobody knew was that in the chaos of that victory night, something even more significant was about to happen. Something that would define Ali's legacy more than any punch he ever threw. Ali was in his dressing room at the Miami Beach Convention Hall, still wearing his championship robe, when three men in expensive suits walked in. They weren't reporters, they weren't boxing officials, they were businessmen, and they had traveled from New York specifically to meet the new champion. The man leading the group was William Faversham Jr., one of the wealthiest real estate developers in America. He was known for two things: making billion-dollar deals and getting whatever he wanted. That night, he wanted Muhammad Ali. Ali was surrounded by his team, including his trainer Angelo Dundee and his cornerman Drew Bundini Brown. The energy in the room was electric. Everyone was celebrating, laughing, recounting the fight. But when Faversham walked in, the atmosphere changed. Something about the way he carried himself commanded attention. Faversham congratulated Ali on his victory, shook his hand, and then got straight to business. He told Ali that he represented a group of wealthy investors who wanted to make him the most successful athlete in American history, not just in boxing, but in everything. Endorsements, movies, television shows, business ventures. They wanted to turn Ali into an empire. Then came the number: $200 million over 10 years. In 1964, that was an almost incomprehensible amount of money. To put it in perspective, the average American family earned about $6,000 a year. $200 million was more wealth than most people could imagine in 100 lifetimes. Ali's team went silent. Angelo Dundee's eyes widened. Even Bundini Brown, who was never at a loss for words, just stared at the briefcase Faversham had placed on the table. But Faversham wasn't finished. He opened the briefcase, and inside were stacks of $100 bills, legal documents, and photographs. The photos showed mansions, cars, yachts, and private jets, everything Ali could own if he signed the contract. There was just one condition, one simple requirement that Faversham emphasized repeatedly. Ali would have to maintain what Faversham called a clean, non-controversial public image. That meant no involvement in politics, no statements about race relations, no association with controversial organizations, and most importantly, no public comments about the Nation of Islam, which Ali had secretly joined just weeks earlier. Faversham explained it in business terms. He said that Ali's value as a spokesperson depended on his universal appeal. White America, he explained, would embrace Ali as long as he stayed in his lane, as long as he was just a boxer, just an entertainer. The moment he became political, the moment he spoke about race, his market value would plummet. The room remained silent. Ali's team members exchanged glances, clearly doing mental calculations. $200 million. It was generational wealth. It was security for Ali's parents, for his children, for his grandchildren. It was everything most people spent their lives chasing. Faversham continued his pitch. He talked about all the other athletes who had stayed quiet and become wealthy. He mentioned how Joe Louis, despite being a hero, had died in debt because he hadn't had the right business representation. He talked about how Jackie Robinson, despite breaking baseball's color barrier, had struggled financially after retirement. Faversham was offering Ali a different path, a guaranteed path to eternal wealth and comfort. All he had to do was stay silent. Ali listened to everything. He looked at the money. He looked at the photographs. He looked at his team members, who were clearly hoping he would at least consider the offer.
This was more money than any of them had ever seen or would ever see again. Then Ali did something that shocked everyone in the room. He laughed. Not a nervous laugh or a polite chuckle, a genuine, from-the-belly laugh that seemed to confuse Faversham completely. Ali stood up, walked over to the briefcase, and closed it. He looked Faversham directly in the eyes and said words that would echo through history. "I don't need your money to know who I am. I'm not going to be what you want me to be. I'm free to be who I want." Faversham tried to interject, tried to explain that Ali was making a mistake, that he was throwing away financial security for his entire family, but Ali wasn't finished. He told Faversham that his name wasn't even Cassius Clay anymore, the name his parents had given him, which he now considered a slave name. He was going to announce publicly that he had joined the Nation of Islam and that his name was now Muhammad Ali. He was going to speak about racial injustice, about inequality, about everything he believed in, and no amount of money was going to stop him. The color drained from Faversham's face. He told Ali that if he went down this path, every door would close, endorsement deals would disappear, television appearances would be canceled, movie offers would evaporate. White America, Faversham warned, would turn against him completely. Ali's response was simple. "Then I'll speak to Black America. I'll speak to the people who need to hear what I have to say." Faversham picked up his briefcase and left without another word. As he walked out, he turned back one final time and told Ali that he would regret this decision for the rest of his life, that he was throwing away everything for nothing. But Ali didn't regret it, not for a second. What happened over the next few years proved Faversham right about one thing. The consequences were devastating. Within days of announcing his Nation of Islam membership and his name change to Muhammad Ali, the backlash began. Reporters who had celebrated his victory over Liston now called him a disgrace. Sports columnists demanded he be stripped of his title. Major brands that had been interested in endorsement deals disappeared overnight. The financial impact was immediate and brutal. Ali's estimated earning potential dropped from tens of millions to almost nothing. While other champions of that era were making fortunes in endorsements, Ali was being blacklisted. Major companies wouldn't touch him. Television networks wouldn't book him. The same media that had made him famous was now trying to destroy him.
Then came 1967, and Ali's refusal to be drafted into the Vietnam War on religious grounds. He was convicted of draft evasion, stripped of his boxing titles, and banned from boxing for 3.5 years during what should have been the prime of his career. He lost millions in potential fight purses alone. But the financial losses were nothing compared to the personal attacks. Ali was vilified in the press. He received death threats daily. He was called a traitor, a coward, a disgrace to America. Some people suggested he should be imprisoned for life or even executed. Through it all, Ali never stopped speaking. He gave speeches at colleges, talking about racial justice and the Vietnam War. He appeared at Nation of Islam events. He used his platform, diminished as it was, to say exactly what he believed. He did everything Faversham had warned him not to do. His team members, the ones who had been in that dressing room the night of the Faversham meeting, watched as opportunities slipped away. Angelo Dundee later admitted that there were times he wondered if Ali had made the right choice. They all loved Ali, but watching him lose everything was painful. Ali's parents struggled with his decision too. His mother, Odessa Clay, was terrified for her son's safety. His father, Cassius Clay Sr., openly disagreed with the Nation of Islam and worried about the family's reputation. They had seen their son achieve the American dream, only to watch him seemingly throw it all away. But something unexpected began to happen. While white mainstream America had turned against Ali, another America was embracing him. Young Black Americans, particularly those involved in the civil rights movement, saw Ali as a hero. Here was someone who had achieved the highest level of success and still refused to compromise his beliefs. Here was someone who chose dignity over dollars. College students, both black and white, began inviting Ali to speak on campuses. While he couldn't earn money boxing, he made modest fees for speeches. It wasn't anywhere near what Faversham had offered, but Ali didn't seem to care. He was doing what he felt called to do. Then, in 1971, the Supreme Court overturned Ali's conviction. His boxing license was restored, and he could fight again. He was 29 years old, had been out of boxing for 3.5 years, and many experts assumed his best days were behind him. But Ali proved them all wrong. He fought his way back, losing to Joe Frazier in 1971, but then winning a rematch against him in 1974. Then came October 30th, 1974, the Rumble in the Jungle in Zaire, where Ali defeated George Foreman to regain the heavyweight championship at age 32. That fight changed everything. Suddenly, Ali wasn't just a controversial figure anymore. He was a global icon. His stand against the draft, which had been so unpopular in the 60s, was now being reconsidered as the Vietnam War became increasingly unpopular. Young Americans who had condemned him were now praising his courage.
More importantly, Ali's refusal to stay silent had inspired a generation. Young black athletes like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Jim Brown cited Ali as the reason they felt empowered to speak about social issues. Ali had opened a door that could never be closed again. But here's what most people don't know about the Faversham offer and Ali's rejection of it. In 1978, 14 years after that meeting in Miami, William Faversham reached out to Ali again. By this time, Ali was one of the most famous people on earth. He had regained the heavyweight title twice more. He had appeared on television shows, in movies, and had endorsement deals worth millions. Faversham requested a private meeting, and surprisingly, Ali agreed. They met in a hotel in New York City, just the two of them. No lawyers, no managers, no cameras. Faversham, now in his 60s, told Ali something he had never admitted to anyone. He said that when he had made that offer in 1964, he had genuinely believed he was helping Ali. He thought he was saving Ali from the inevitable backlash that would come from speaking out. He thought silence and wealth were the best gifts he could offer. But watching Ali over the years, Faversham said, had changed his mind. He had seen Ali lose everything and gain it back through sheer force of will and principle. He had seen Ali inspire millions of people in a way that no amount of advertising campaigns or endorsement deals ever could have. Faversham then did something remarkable. He apologized. He told Ali that he had been wrong, that the $200 million he had offered would have destroyed Ali, not saved him, because the money came with chains, and Muhammad Ali was meant to be free. Ali, who by this time had early symptoms of Parkinson's syndrome that made his speech slower and softer, simply smiled and shook Faversham's hand. He told Faversham that he had never been angry at him, that Faversham had just been doing what he thought was best according to the values he had been raised with. Then Ali said something that Faversham later called the most profound thing anyone had ever told him. Money makes a man wealthy. Principles make a man rich. That meeting between Ali and Faversham was never publicized. Faversham died in 1989, but before he passed, he told the story to his children and grandchildren. He told them that of all the deals he had made in his life, the one Muhammad Ali rejected was the most important deal he had ever offered, because Ali's rejection taught him that some things truly are more valuable than money. Today, when people talk about Muhammad Ali, they talk about his boxing achievements. They talk about the Thrilla in Manila, the Rumble in the Jungle, his Olympic gold medal. But those who truly understand Ali's legacy know that his greatest fight wasn't in the ring. It was in that dressing room in 1964, when a 22-year-old kid chose his voice over $200 million. Ali passed away in 2016, but his impact lives on.
Every athlete who speaks about social justice, every person who chooses principles over profit, every individual who refuses to be silenced despite the cost, they are all walking the path that Muhammad Ali chose that night in Miami. The $200 million that William Faversham offered would have made Ali wealthy, but by rejecting it, by choosing to speak his truth regardless of the consequences, Muhammad Ali became something far more valuable. He became free. He became himself. He became the greatest, not just in boxing, but in showing the world what it means to stand for something bigger than yourself. And in the end, that choice was worth more than all the money in the world.